like when I'm very upset with a movie, I do a finger gun to shoot myself. I shot myself, like, no joke. And this is not a hyperbole. I shot myself like 12 times. Just doing this in the theater. Warlocks. Have you heard this one, Batman? It'll kill you! You crazy warlocks. I'm Zach Nanimus.
I'm Johnny Dam.
And once again, you've stumbled into yet another episode of the WarPod, where we like to go to special movie events for Batman. Especially the one that we just went to, The Killing Joke. Cue some promo stuff from the movie. By the way, special shout out to Fathom Events for getting us in contact with the people we needed to in order to see this movie. It was a very lovely evening and a very nice gesture. So once again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you to Fathom Events. We couldn't have done this without you. So that being said, that was a movie. The Killing Joke.
I was warned.
Existed.
I was warned about your opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
Who said?
Justin.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What'd he say?
He just told me that the first thing you did when the movie was over was tell him about how much you didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, we happen to be in the same theater. So, Batman the Killing Joke was it's hard to call it a graphic novel. It's really more the size of a giant-size comic is what they used to call them. It's about 80 pages. About the size of 3 comic books.
That's all it needed to be.
Yeah, it was a very small, subtle story about the Joker trying to prove a point.
Nothing subtle about that.
Well, it's a little.
Well, the message.
It's not
the message is subtle.
Right. Well, it's also the execution. It's not the Joker killing thousands of Boy Scouts at the local county fair.
Sure.
But the Joker is just trying to prove a point to Batman by driving Commissioner Gordon insane. Not only by robbing him of his dignity and humanity, but also by maiming his daughter.
And taking pictures of her.
Mm-hmm. One of the most iconic visuals of the Joker, actually lots of very iconic imagery of the Joker from comic books, comes from this. Not only him in his tourist outfit, with
the Hawaiian shirt, the camera,
with the Polaroid camera, but even this one right here.
When you see the one of him holding it, and you see all the ha-ha-has behind him, that's from this book.
Mm-hmm. So they thought it would make a good movie. And it wasn't wrong thinking. But for my money, it was kind of unusual execution.
I'm a little bit different on this one. I actually really liked the movie.
My light's weird.
I really liked the movie. I thought, yes, there were flaws in the movie, and I thought that just because of the way they had to execute, the way they chose to execute it in an animated film, I think that had some hiccups, and I don't think you could do a perfect Killing Joke to the big screen like that. But I still loved it. Loved all of it. I obviously didn't love all of it. I said there's some things I don't like, but yeah.
The things that I don't like about it can be summed up in a single word. Batgirl.
Yeah?
Batgirl is a huge part of this movie. And don't get me wrong, they did an excellent 30-minute Batgirl featurette at the beginning of the film. It's not in the comic book, but that's not what makes it bad. What makes it bad is that it's a tremendous tonal shift. Here's the adventures of Batgirl. Having sex with Batman sometimes, but the adventures of Batgirl nonetheless. Okay, and them refining hers and Batman's relationship, and it felt like one of the old an episode of the old Bruce Timm series. It really did. Bruce Timm and Stephen Liu, who directed?
No,
it's Liu.
No,
his name's Liu.
Oh no! You're right. You're right. No, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was thinking about something else.
Okay. Yeah, and they also collaborate on the original one, and it really felt like a good episode of the original series.
Sure.
But the thing is that the rest of it is weirdly very trying to be extremely faithful to the book, even in tone, and that makes the rest of it extremely weird.
Which part? The beginning?
No, the end.
Oh.
The second half.
Yeah. Where
they basically start doing frame for frame recreations of parts of the comic book. Mm-hmm. And everything about the comic book, and as a result, the second half of the movie is very cerebral, dark, and strange. I mean, look at the way the Killing Joke, the book, begins. It starts with a conversation. This movie starts with some kung fu from Batgirl, you know?
Right.
And the second half of the movie starts with that same conversation. And it means as much. And it's just as strange because none of it has to do with the mystery that's involved here. It has everything to do with the way Batman feels. It's a character piece through and through. Except for the movie, which the first half is Batgirl swinging around and riding the motorcycle and whipping off her top.
I won't.
Which happens.
I won't argue that there is a stark contrast to the beginning half and the second half.
I would say a tonal disconnect.
But the reason I liked it, and I thought that actually worked for the movie, is that I think it works in the same manner in which a lot of good horror movies are, where they start off as like a family drama or just like a teen I don't know, like a chick flick almost, and then they completely shift all of a sudden when everything gets turned on its head, and I think that's what this did really well. And I also like the beginning part with Batgirl because it actually helps you kind of learn about what Batgirl is and who she is to Batman, and you learn more about her and you care about that character. And then
Batgirl developed in the 1960s? Don't we kind of have a good grasp on who Batgirl is?
I think a good movie gives you a good snapshot of all the characters and gives you decent backstories so that you know enough about those characters, regardless of any other media you may have been introduced to with them.
But it's kind of like what Jay Free was saying about it, was that the book doesn't even set her up as Batgirl. He sets her up as the Commissioner's daughter.
Which I think it's important for somebody who's not a comic book fan to know exactly who she is and how important she is to the world of Batman. And I even think the sex scene adds to that.
The sex scene was laughable. The sex scene was laughable. I laughed out loud.
It was not.
For those of you who haven't seen the movie yet, here's what happened. So Batgirl is fighting Batman. Remember when Chris O'Donnell fought Val Kilmer in the Batman Forever movie? Same thing. Doesn't respect her as a partner, upset with him.
Which is a common problem with Batman. That's what he does.
They get into a fist fight. So
it's more of a shoving match. They don't get too bad.
She hurls him by the neck with her thighs.
Yeah, but then
that's why they're straddling each other, and that's what causes the sexual tension, which leads to her in two motions, whipping off her cowl,
right,
and then whipping off her top.
Right.
Which I always assumed that the Batgirl suit was like a tactical suit, even if it wasn't bulletproof because they go back and forth on that. I always assumed that it would take a little bit more than a gesture to get a superhero out of their clothing.
It's a cartoon.
Okay. Call me old-fashioned, but I just assumed
you like your cartoons to be serious and a reflection of reality.
If there's no mallet space and Acme products in it, I'd like them to at least be logical in their own realm. But I digress.
Coming from someone who likes Teen Titans Go, don't you?
Yes, that's all logical in its own realm. Mm-hmm. They would never suggest that that Cyborg can just take off his robot parts.
They've established that each of the Bat family members, not each, but at least one, can take off his cowl in one swift movement.
Okay.
I remember that from the animated series.
But here's the kicker.
Oh, God.
Instead of showing us the sex scene, which, by the way, we've already seen...
We didn't see the sex scene!
Instead of showing us the sex scene... Okay. Which, by the way, we've already seen, like, 4 guys' heads explode from bullets hitting them, so I don't know what... Was it an R? Did I see an R movie? I don't know.
It's an R rating.
Okay, so they could have shown us at least a little softcore.
They should have shown us...
If they were going to push it.
They should have shown us a lot more of everything.
Which, by the way, that didn't need to be in the movie. So I'm not saying that I need to see the bat sex. I'm saying that they could have, if that's what they were going for, if they were going for grittier, they could have shown us more. But instead of showing us that, they pan up to a gargoyle built into the building with a Cheshire grin. So...
Which gargoyles have a lot of the time.
Not only was Gotham watching them have sex, but also Gotham's a little bit of a perv. Just kind of hey. Which, by the way,
that was my reaction.
The emotions from that gargoyle, more, I would say, more realistic than anything that comes out of the Joker. Which brings me to the next problem with the movie.
Good God.
The flashbacks. The thing is, there was so much time and money and effort put into the Batgirl segments that it didn't seem like anybody really put any love into the flashback scenes with the Joker. They're poorly animated, they're poorly directed, and and I say that because they've got great actors in them. Okay, Mark Hamill does the voice of both the Red Hood and the Joker, and as the Joker, he's amazing. But as Jack Napier, Jack White, whatever you want to call him before he became the Joker, it doesn't seem like he even cares about what's going on in his own story. Incredibly horrible things happen to this person, and it's supposed to be the path leading to him becoming the Joker, and it seemed his pregnant wife dying seems like a minor inconvenience to him. You can go back into the comic and look at the despair on his face, and you can see he's a man about to crack. And here you got, well, geez, I guess my wife died. I guess I don't have to do crime anymore. And they're like, you better do crime. And he's like, oh, geez, okay. And then he falls into chemicals and then starts laughing maniacally. And there's your Joker, everybody. Congratulations.
All the story was there. Okay.
Yeah, all this.
I think all the problems you're pointing to, actually, most of them, I think have to do with budget. I think that you cannot do animation to the highest quality that you think that this needs without an enormous budget. Give me the last time you saw animation that was just fucking stellar. Cartoon animation.
It's got to be cartoon? Well, it's all done on computers anyway.
Right.
Okay, so How to Train Your Dragon.
Right, which is a Disney Pixar title, which those people have the most enormous budgets.
I didn't need...
And those have a much wider audience, so they know they're going to make their money back.
I didn't need Pixar quality animation. What I needed was first half Batgirl quality animation. In these segments of the movies, there's a huge drop-off in quality. Nobody loved these scenes. They felt like an afterthought once they got all the Batgirl stuff they wanted to out of the way.
For me, it wasn't. The whole movie was not about those scenes. No, they weren't. I'll admit they're not perfect, but they were definitely good enough.
I won't go there. I would not say that. I didn't believe that he was a man about to lose his mind. Not for a second. Not in those scenes.
No, absolutely not. He was not about to lose his mind. He didn't lose his mind until after he fell in the chemicals.
That's not what makes him lose his mind.
That is what makes him lose his mind.
If that's what the Joker thought makes you lose your mind, that's where he would have started with Commissioner Gordon. But it's not. He said that he needed to have one bad day.
One bad day. Yes, it is all the events. All the events of that.
He didn't even try to put him in the chemical.
What? Who didn't?
Joker. He didn't even try to put him in the chemical.
Who?
Gordon.
No. I'm not saying no. You're right. No, you're right. It takes the whole equation that made the Joker was, yes, part of it was his wife dying. Part of it was that he was depressed all the time. Part of it was that, he just didn't have a career. He was that close to being kicked out of his house. And yeah, all that fed into it. But I think the chemicals actually had a big part of it too.
But the Joker didn't believe that because it wasn't part of his plan.
Sure. No, he believed it was absolutely possible to make him go insane without chemicals. I mean, yeah, absolutely. People go insane.
And that would have been the easiest part of the equation. Because in the comics, they established that the Joker knows what he fell into. Hell, Batman knows what he fell into. Batman likes to analyze the chemicals some nights.
Sure.
Just to see if that's actually what makes it happen. But there's never been any proof to that. It's not the chemical, it's the man. And they even make that point at the end of the movie.
Sure.
That it's not everybody who can go insane, it's just the Joker. But once again, I'm referencing a part of the movie that was done really well. And that was not the flashbacks.
No, okay, we can move on from the flashbacks. I admitted that they weren't that great.
Get ready for a sequel, folks! Because they tease Oracle at the end of it for some reason. After having an amazing ending where the Joker finished...
You should be excited about this! You should be excited about this! Because you said that the best animated parts of the movie were the Batgirl scenes.
Sure.
And we've been hurting for some good quality Warner Brothers Batman animated films for a while, because there's been a couple that were horrible. Son of Batman was shit.
Actually, you know what? It's just that series. The rest of them are pretty good.
Okay. Well, did you ever see, we talked about this before, did you ever see the Justice League versus Teen Titans?
No, I hadn't yet. Was it good?
It's out. I haven't seen it.
You should watch it.
But I've heard some bad things. But I don't, it was from somebody I don't know, so I don't know. whether to trust their opinion.
Here's the thing. I would be excited if they didn't use it as an excuse to ruin the end of the movie. The end of the movie
They didn't ruin the movie! Not with that one scene!
The movie ends on the best note possible. In the book, the Joker starts telling a joke at the beginning. They can't frame it that way because the Joker's supposed to be a little bit of surprise, despite that he's on all of the promotional art. So he tells the entire joke to Batman at the end of it, and Batman can't do anything in that moment but look at this insane person who he feels responsible for creating and just laugh. Roll credits, we hear nothing but the end of their laughter and then the rain.
Yes,
It ending on the perfect note for an animation of a book this sensitive, this character driven, and this strange. Until we go back to the apartment and we tease Oracle, the Adventures of Oracle. Don't worry, folks. Happy endings all around because she's Oracle now. Get ready for a sequel.
The scene you described where they laugh and it's over
should have been the end.
They did it respect and they did it justice by letting it linger, and Kevin Conroy's laugh kind of just peters out.
Yep.
And that was good.
Perfect.
Yes, it was fantastic.
I would describe it.
But what I'm saying is they respected it enough. But they've also got to make money. And so they got to tell you they're going to make a Batman story or a Batgirl story.
So do a Batgirl featurette. That's what they wanted to do anyway. They did 25 minutes of animation plus the teaser at the end. Just make the Batgirl story. Hell, the Batgirl story was actually really interesting. It had to do with a guy named Perry Francesco, who called himself Paris France, who was a complete narcissist and had all the trappings of a supervillain without any of the costume or pageantry. It brought superheroes down to a street level. It was interesting, it was well done, it was well written, it was well animated. They could have just made that the movie.
It sounds like you loved most of this movie.
Yeah, I just don't like them jammed together. I really like Jaws and I really like Home Alone. They don't need to be the first and second acts of the same thing.
Jaws alone.
I like that actually.
Well, regardless, until I heard his opinion, I thought I don't know. You're making me question everything, Zach.
Yeah, you should.
No, that's a fantastic movie.
That's what this.
You can't change my mind.
That's what this book is supposed to do. Is it's supposed to make you ask questions.
Yes, and it did. In fact, you know what's crazy about this? I think it's because I prefer visual medium, like cinema. The movie made me think even harder, and things made sense to me more watching it in the theater rather than reading the book.
All I could think about was bat sex and them ripping off a line from the Christopher Nolan movie.
That sounds like a you problem. Because I read the joke. I read the joke in here that he tells at the end, and yeah, more. And I said this to Justin when we talked about it. I said that there are very few scenes I've read in a comic that make me think more than that one. You know, that one stays with me, and it stayed with me even more, and it was more profound seeing it and hearing it with Mark Hamill's voice and Kevin Conroy's voice, and in that scene, it's just
you're describing a very good
fantastic.
You're describing a very good part of the movie.
Yeah, and what was I really hope they put the Mark Hamill intro in as like a bonus feature in the DVD, because I think a lot of fans would really like to hear that and see that, because I thought that was fantastic.
I really hope they take all the outtakes of Mark Hamill reading his lines from the flashbacks.
Yeah,
because that's what they put in the movie, and then now that he's warmed up, let him do them, because obviously there was a miscommunication where the worst takes were put in the movie.
I don't think it was the voice. I think it was the animation. Like, you even talked about how profound those flashback scenes are in this book.
I also talked about how the animation was cheap in the flashbacks.
That's what I'm telling you. I think it's not. I don't think it's Mark Hamill's voice acting. I think it's the visuals, because you're right. You don't see the anguish in his face in the as much as you should in the movie.
The thing about it is that, okay, I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what was going on in the booth, but generally voice actors have a script and then animators animate to them. So Mark Hamill probably didn't have any visuals to go with. He could have put as much anguish in it as he wanted. But remember that we also have to deal with the director. They could have said anything to him at the time. And we know that Mark Hamill is capable of a big and profound performance. We've been watching him do it for upwards of 40 years.
Something I want to bring up before we finish this.
Can we cut in Luke Skywalker going, no! Right there?
I should probably just have you edit it.
Okay. But nevertheless, you want to talk about something?
Yeah, Justin brought up something, and I'm going to give him credit because we didn't have a chance to talk about it while we were recording. How to Comic, by the way, is what I'm talking about. Do a show with him.
That was...
Yeah, I know, I got you. You're Vanna Whiting. Mm-hmm. Alan Moore did not get credit in the movie.
Couldn't matter less. Everybody knows where it comes from. It's like they did Hamlet and didn't credit Shakespeare. Oh no, they've stolen from
But they credited the artist, Brian Boland, because they said something about like based off the comic book or something that features the art of Brian Boland.
You know, I saw that,
and it didn't say Alan Moore anywhere.
Yeah, I thought about it, but you know what? Alan Moore is such a stick in the mud about his.
He probably said he didn't want his name on it.
Yeah,
that's what I told Justin. I was like, I don't. He probably was like, I don't want to be on it.
Yeah.
Don't put my name on that
I've
shit.
never read the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but I saw the movie when I was a kid and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, and I know that he hates that movie.
Well, I can see why. But actually, I have the comic. I've been meaning to read it because people say that comic is fantastic.
I believe it. It's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, the movie's bad.
Alan Quatermain. Yeah. They say that Africa will not let me die.
What comic do they need to make a good movie out of?
The Killing Joke. They need that's an excellent question. Mm-hmm. Because DC generally knocks their animation out of the park, there's precious few really good stories that they haven't done.
What about they did Flashpoint, didn't they? Yes,
they did. It was great.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. Mm-hmm. My other first thought was another Batman one, which was The Long Halloween, but they pretty much did that.
Did they? Yeah. I've never read The Long Halloween.
Nolan borrowed a lot of stuff from it.
Okay.
Yeah. And the theming. And he even did the one I bought was recent, and he actually has the foreword is all him.
Did they do Hush? Have they done Hush animated yet? Hush wasn't bad. Oh, I know. Death of the Family.
Yes!
I know it's all comic books, but just that arc.
Yes!
Get it in there.
That is so good.
Yes. We are going to need at least a 45-minute tribute to Spoiler, the character Spoiler, ahead of any of the events of Death of the Family in the animated feature.
I don't even know who Spoiler is.
Spoiler? Okay, you may remember from...
Is he a race car driver?
No, from the Val Kilmer...
Batman?
Yeah, the Val Kilmer Batman that Jim Carrey, he's trying to pick a name for his supervillain alias, and he chooses Clue Master at one point and then discredits it based upon his stuff. That's a real bad guy. Clue Master is a bad guy who is Riddler-esque. He would leave clues at the crimes, but he was such a bad criminal that his amateur crime-fighting daughter would routinely spoil his plans.
Her name was a Spoiler?
She got the name The Spoiler. She's actually a really well-designed character. I don't know much about her other than that, but she's the one that she looks like Phantasm, except all purple.
Oh.
Yeah, that one. No skull face. It's a full mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mask of the Phantasm. That was a great movie.
Nevertheless, there are things that I absolutely adore about this movie, and there's things that I really don't like about this movie. So this gets my official rating of meh. It's a thing. There are enjoyable things about it, and there are not so enjoyable things about it. Go watch it because...
What would you give it out of 5?
Out of 5? That's a 2.5. It is half good and half bad.
I give it a 4.
A 4?
Mm-hmm.
Because someone's about to hit you with a golf club?
You got it.
All right. And you know what? I think the ultimate thing is, don't take our word for it. I think that lots of people will really enjoy it. You know that things aren't my cup of tea.
Yeah, and the movie's out on DVD now, so go check it out.
In fact, we encourage you to go watch it to see if you agree with our opinion, so we can create a little discourse down in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out that like button, and why don't you go ahead while you're at it, create a profile at warlocksentertainment.com. Create a profile, sign up, become a warlock.